Hi, my name is Tom Byer. I'm arguing that alcohol intake does not affect appetite or contribute to obesity. To clarify, any macronutrient consumed in excess would lead to a positive energy balance and eventual weight gain that might lead to obesity. That would include carbohydrates, proteins, alcohol, which we're going to talk about today, and even fats. My argument is that light to moderate drinking, defined as about 1 to 2 days per week, 1 to 2 alcoholic beverages per day, doesn't lead to appetite increases or obesity. So my argument's based on research and not common myths or beliefs we might have before watching this video. So try to, start over and we'll just go with the research. One of the best ways to discuss alcohol's effect on appetite is by looking at preload studies. Preload studies, for example, is when alcohol is given prior to a meal and some control is given prior to a meal. And they see after which meal do you consume more calories. In most of these studies, alcohol is seen to increase food intake, and not necessarily appetite, but food intake, when compared to the control. These effects usually act up to about a half hour post-alcohol consumption, so there's a time frame of that potential increase, if there even is an increase. So not eating food when drinking may not lead to similar results. Also, due to societal beliefs about alcohol, it is possible that there is an expectancy bias that alcohol will make a person hungry. So some common names you may have heard: drunken hungers, alcoholic munchies, hurricaning, which is when someone goes into your fridge after a night of binge drinking and pretty much eats everything, or someone else's fridge, which is even worse. And these are more likely to happen after heavy drinking as well. But it's this beliefs we might have that might cause us to act this way. In one research study where alcohol was expected, but a non-alcoholic beer was given, similar increases in food consumption were seen with the alcohol compared to the control. Further, from a physiological perspective, ghrelin, which is known to increase appetite, is actually suppressed short-term with alcohol consumption. And finally, there's no evidence that alcohol suppresses the release of satiety hormones. With this in mind, it is just as likely that beliefs of alcohol effects might be the cause of acute increase in food consumption, and not the alcohol consumption or the properties of the alcohol itself that increases. To understand alcohol's relationship to obesity, it's important to analyze longer-term studies and epidemiological studies, since weight gain and or loss is seen on a longer timeline, like weeks to months, and not necessarily, or even years, and not necessarily days. In one study, alcohol intake in relation to diet and obesity, the researchers found an inverse relationship between alcohol intake and BMI for women, but not necessarily in men. This finding has been replicated in many studies. Possible reasons that men didn't see the same relationship might be gender differences, drink choices like beer versus wine, or behavior differences. However, in another study that used information from the National Health Interview Survey, they found that frequency of alcohol consumption was inversely associated with BMI for both males and females, while the amount of alcohol consumed per session was positively associated with BMI. So, frequency of consuming alcohol, inverse relationship, i.e. more times consuming alcohol, lower BMI, whereas on those sessions when you actually consumed a lot of alcohol, so amount per session, had a positive relationship with it, so increased BMI with larger amounts of alcohol, not what moderate drinking would be. In analysis of an enhanced survey, the odds of overweight and obesity of those who never smoked were significantly higher in those who were heavy drinkers, 4 plus a day, while light to moderate was associated with significantly lower odds of overweight and obesity, even when compared to non-drinkers or lifelong abstainers. So it appears that even abstainers might be at a disadvantage compared to those who are able to drink alcohol in moderation. Many other studies have seen this sort of U-shaped curve in response to alcohol consumption. So alcohol versus BMI, where at extremely low amounts, almost no alcohol consumed at all, might put you in increased risk when compared to those who consume alcohol in moderation, and then the worst would be those who are heavy drinkers or even binge drinkers. So the key is moderation, and that sort of comes down with any type of diet. Also in the NIH survey, at about 10 years follow-up, moderate alcohol consumption was related to less weight gain and more stable weight when compared to the non-drinking group. So another situation, even at alcohol's most extreme level, which would be alcohol dependence, when someone's almost not consuming anything but alcohol, that's associated with impaired appetite, less appetite, malnutrition, and emaciation, which is like extreme thinness. Finally, just a final conclusion, since I didn't include any animal studies, you may have noticed my cat here. He was distract you from looking at me, because I don't want to be on video, to be quite honest. But he's also been a participant in a single subject study that I've conducted over the years. So I hope you were thinking, this cat is obese. He is, in the cat world at least. And I think a lot of house cats end up being spoiled and obese. But what you didn't know is he's never had a drop of alcohol. And therefore it's pretty easy to conclude, at least for animals, and we don't know if it's going to apply to humans, but I think it will. It's not alcohol that caused his obesity. You can go if you want, kitty. And a final note, it is a good idea to avoid heavy drinking, binge drinking, possibly even complete abstinence from drinking. Drinking with your meal maybe, and beer and spirits compared to wine, while wine in moderate intake may be beneficial to your health. I hope that was informative, and have a great night, guys.